Victim advocates say there could be countless others suffering in silence. News 12's Tara Rosenblum joins us with a special report you'll see only on 12. Tara.
Brian, for decades, Shloimie Weiss tried to forget his abuse, but could not. So now he's coming forward, hoping his painful past will help others who were also victimized. But like him, their horrific stories were kept hidden in a religious community mistrustful of the outside world. Tucked away in the rural hills of Orange County. Just a 60-mile drive from the flash and frenzy of Manhattan sits a tiny village only 1 mile long that is arguably one of the most religious, most insular places in all of America. You won't find any movie theaters here, any fast food chains, or even women behind the wheel. And that's because life here in the Orthodox Jewish community of Kiryas Joel revolves mostly around God, modesty, and worship. But one man tells us there are also dark secrets here, and that those secrets nearly destroyed his life.
Any living creature should not suffer 1% that I suffer.
Now 36 and living in Brooklyn, Shloimie Weiss says the sexual abuse started when he was just 7 years old.
He would do everything in the book, the oral sex, everything and anything.
Unthinkable crimes against any child. Yet Shloimie says the man who stole his innocence was the very person who should have protected him the most, his own father.
The car used to be parked here. Sometimes, on occasion, we'll have to have sex here because my mother is home.
Speaking from his childhood home in Kiryas Joel that he hasn't returned to in decades, the memories start flooding back.
Every Shabbat meal was like a horror story.
Sabbath is supposed to be a holy time for Jewish families, but Shloimie says on Friday nights what he endured was a living hell.
Right after the meal, I'll have to follow him into his bed, and my mother would stay out for half an hour until I come out, and that's it. And he would have sex with me until he's finished, and that's it.
That same abuse allegedly went on for years.
I had no idea if this is something wrong, if this happens to everybody, if I have a right to reject. I couldn't go to school, just like crying uncontrollably. I was always thinking everybody could see it on my face and hiding it from friends.
Suffering in silence. It would be 9 long years before Shloimie would seek out help. After he says the pain became too much to bear, he finally revealed his shameful secret to his school teachers and to the head rabbi at the Nitri Yeshiva in Mount Kisco, where he was studying.
If somebody's sick, you lock him up.
Shloimie recently returned to the Westchester campus as an adult, hoping to find answers. Answers from the very same man who he says was the first to learn about his alleged abuse. Instead of calling police, Shloimie claims he was sent to study in Europe and then pressured into an arranged marriage at the age of 19. All the while, his father remained a free man working, of all things, as an elementary school bus driver. In Yiddish, Shloimie's former teacher admits to remembering his story, but explained in English why they are resistant to outside involvement when handling sex abuse cases.
You can't just accuse a man just because somebody says so.
A statement that led Shloimie to leave here just as frustrated as when he was 16.
For them it's easier not to acknowledge that such a thing exists, and some of them have their own interests because they employed before a pedophile, you know what I'm saying? They could be sued. They have blood on their hands.
Shloimie says powerful religious leaders here also silenced his abuse because they were afraid of the shame that it would bring to their community. But the school leaders that we spoke with strongly denied that and said they would call police if they felt a child's life was in danger. Either way, victim advocates say that Shloimie's story is a lot more common than you might think.
I don't think there was any other community on planet Earth that has this percentage of the community victimized.
Ben Hirsch runs a Manhattan-based advocacy group called Survivors for Justice. Its main mission is to come to the rescue of ultra-Orthodox Jewish victims like Shloimie across the tri-state area. Hirsch believes there are thousands of them. You heard right, thousands. Yet their cases seldom wind up in the hands of law enforcement because he says victims need their rabbi's permission first before calling police.
You don't hear about convictions, and the reason you don't hear about it is because anybody who's going to file a complaint with the local authorities is out. I mean, they're going to be kicked out of the community. The entire family is going to be ostracized.
In the past 30 years, for all the accusations, allegations, there has only been one Hasidic man who lived in KJ convicted of a sex crime. Just one. Rabbi Israel Weingarten molested his daughter from the time she was 9 until 18. And last year, following a federal prosecution, he was sentenced to serve 30 years in prison. But Hirsch says outcomes like that are extremely rare because pedophiles are usually just kicked out of town, free to destroy the lives of other Jewish children.
You've got case after case of traveling abusers. They start off in one community, move to another community, move on to another community, leaving victims behind. Now, these victims are not being treated. These victims are not allowed to speak out. So you've got a breeding ground, and this is going on for many, many years, and it's only getting worse.
There's no cover-up in this community whatsoever.
Ari Felberman, the public relations director for Kiryas Joel, also denies the problem of underage sex abuse has reached epidemic proportions, as Hirsch claims.
Whether it's kosher food, that it's to the highest and strictest standards, whether it's modesty in clothing, in every aspect of Judaism, they take it to the highest level. This community would not tolerate something as basic as sex abuse in the community without dealing with it.
As for Shlomo's case,
do you believe the rabbi should have gone forward and contacted police?
Yes. But I have to, qualify that I don't accept that he actually told the rabbi and the rabbi ignored it. Again, we're talking 19 years ago. His memory may be, and again, there may be an agenda.
legally, it's too late now for Shlomo to press charges against his father, but not too late to confront him, which he did spontaneously after nearly a decade of separation, and much to our surprise, right after our first interview. What would unfold in the next 10 minutes would leave Shlomo a changed man.
I just want you to get some help. You abused me since I was 7 years old.
After listening to his son, Joseph Weiss went silent, and then he turned to us and said,
I want to talk to him privately, not on the press.
But Shlomo, who had kept quiet for all those many years, just couldn't stop talking and confronting.
Victims are going to come forward. Once this goes public, victims are going to come forward.
Mr. Weiss then stormed away. We followed.
We were listening to your son's story, and I wanted to give you the opportunity to respond.
He spoke not a word, which Shlomo says spoke volumes. But instead of walking away disappointed, he'd leave satisfied. Having grown up in a place where the walls are always up and change is hard to come by, for Shlomo, the fact that his story is no longer a secret means he is no longer suffering in silence.
I just feel human, that's all. This is something that I was looking for all my life. For all my life.
A sense of closure Shlomo hopes others will find too now that he's gone public with his story. We should tell you that there are special religious courts in the Hasidic community that have been set up, but in the eyes of the law, they have no real authority or training to punish pedophiles. Brian, Janine.
Very powerful stuff, Tara. Thank you very much.
Incredibly powerful, almost unbelievable story, but he told it to News 12.
If you'd like more on Tara's report, Suffering in Silence, you can head over to channel 612. That's News 12 Interactive. Just select